Good afternoon, and this is Module 1 for AEP 855. My name is Michael Graham. I am from Hazel, Kansas, born and raised. I currently teach 7th grade social studies at Hazel Middle School, as well as being the head soccer coach at Hayesville West. I graduated Bethel College in 4 years with a bachelor's degree in history, where I attended all 4 years as a varsity athlete playing soccer there. I then moved to Wichita State to get my bachelor's degree in education. Afterwards, I started teaching. My hobbies are watching soccer, playing soccer. This will be my 32nd straight year, more or less, of playing soccer, minus a few knee injuries. And, of course, Star Wars. I am married, father of 3 human children, and 8 fur babies. My wife, Tasha, I will not put her age for my personal safety on there. I have 3 children, Emma, 13, there in the middle, Luke, 10, yes, he was named after Star Wars, and Chase, 8, there on the right. I have 4 dogs, Pele, a Chihuahua Yorkie mix, Philo, a Terrier mix that we found and adopted, and Bella and Chewbacca, my St. Bernards. I have 4 cats as well, Karma, our old calico, at 3 years old, and then, of course, the children holding their kittens that we recently got here of Cookie, Oreo, and Eden. So on to pandemic teaching. What's been the hardest part for me? And that's clearly just the lack of human interaction and student interaction. I'm a very big proponent of getting the students involved in the lessons and getting them involved in the learning, and it was very difficult to do that from behind a computer screen for a lot of our students. Especially after Thanksgiving break when we went fully online. When we went fully online with my daughter being at the same school and then not being able to be at school, required me then to work from home. And working from home, honestly, was probably the worst experience I have had in education, period, because I had no human interaction. It was very difficult for me to speak with my students, speak with my staff members, which kind of ties into mindsets. Now, mindsets is something I've dealt with a lot in my time in Hayesville. At the alternative high school where I first started, we really delved deep into mindsets because of the fact that we had to break a lot of bad, negative mindsets at that school. And that makes it hugely important. This idea of growth versus fixed mindsets, the idea that a growth mindset, you can do whatever you put your mind to. You can break free of what people expect of you. Versus that fixed mindset says, I'm not good at math, I won't succeed, I'll never graduate high school. We had dealt with a lot of that at our alternatives high school setting. And so dealing with a lot of that, I can see the very big importance of that mindset idea. Teacher collaboration over isolation. As I alluded to during my pandemics talk, collaboration is massively important for our safety, our health, and our success, to be honest. Happiness and optimism. These are vital. Okay, if you're not happy with what you're doing, it might be time to reevaluate what you're doing and to make yourself either find ways to be happy with what you're doing or find something else that makes you happy. And if you are optimistic and happy, that will rub off on your students, and your students will be happy and optimistic, which makes learning so much easier. Okay, and they are these precursors to success, not merely the result, as more alluded to in this article. On to dispositions. Dispositions are a different matter in terms of mindsets, are kind of what we portray, I feel. And confidence as a leader is hugely important. We must have that ability to breed confidence, if you will. Because if we're confident in our actions, then others will, when following suit, be confident in their actions. And confidence is, of course, contagious. This is one area, number 2, that I really struggle in, being a risk taker, being decisive. These type of leaders, they just take the plunge. They go for it. They see something that they think might work, and they just go for it. I'm very, very hard to do that. I'm very much more data-driven and want to kind of almost map things out entirely before I make that leap. Number 3, sense of humor. I do have a very big sense of humor. That is kind of what I tie into directly. I really kind of more or less related to the disposition here of sense of humor. I am the one that normally makes jokes during meetings, of course, appropriate jokes, that kind of lightens the mood and keeps people happy and smiling. That's kind of my role in my school, and that's what I do. Um, I'm try to be empathetically assertive. I do struggle with that sometimes. I tend to more or less let people get the best of me when we talk about empathy. I do kind of care too much from time to time, and I do have a hard time with making them fall in line. And a learner. I think all of us in education is massively important to be a learner along with our students. We are doing that right now. We're learning new material as we go through our master's program. And I think this leads to a lot of practice and knowledge when we move into this area. Now, practices, focus and prioritizing. You have to stay on point. I struggle with it in the classroom, but in terms of getting through the lessons I need to get through, I do. And great school leaders have the courage to say no, okay? To not get distracted and to choose simplicity over complex. Sometimes the simple way is the best way. Get it done, get it over with, especially those things that we don't really like to do or that we don't want to do, okay? There's going to come that time where we may have to, let someone go or get the staff to do something that they're not too excited about. And sometimes the best way to do that is just to focus down, prioritize, and get it done. Examining feedback and data, massively important. Data drives everything. Being data driven is a great way to have confidence in what you're doing, as well as to back it up, if you will. If you make a decision based on data, you could say, listen, guys, here's the data. This is the reason why I made it. And it helps add focus. And emotional intelligence. Engaging with others is a must. We are in a social business. I think teaching education in general is a social business. You have to kind of put your best effort into treating people with dignity and respect. Because if you don't, they're going to know it. They know you're going to be disingenuous. They're going to know that you don't respect them and what they're doing, and they're going to act accordingly, which is going to cause problems for you in the long run. Now, the principles. There's 8 of these. Personal courage. Standing up for what's best for your students. As an administrator, you're going to have to do that. I have a great example at my school. He does stand up almost all the time for what he feels is best for the students. That's why we fought for so long against going remote, and why we fought for so long against doing hybrid classes. Well, it's because we saw that was not going to be the best for all of our students. And that kind of directly ties into the public interest. There's times where you're not going to agree with a decision, and that your job as a principal is to put the public interest in front of yourself, okay? There are decisions that we make every day in the classroom that we may not agree with, that we have to do because they are going to be better for our students in the long run. Self-control, self-discipline, and integrity. If you don't have integrity, then you have nothing, in my opinion. You must be under control. You have to be honest with your people in front of you. And as an administrator, we have to remember that we will always be on point. We have to be always on point. We're always being watched, just like we are in the classroom as well. Task and employee centeredness, finding that balance between staff and student needs. Okay, you have to have a happy staff. You have to have happy students. If you don't have that, then you're going to struggle as an administrator to get done what you need to get done. A culture must be created by building on the varied needs of those students and teachers, according to Lynch. Recognizing talent is part of your job. Hiring the best people to put in the best position. That's kind of any administrator's job in any field. Finding that right person to fit that right hole. Okay, not trying to make a square peg fit in a round hole. Requiring high ethics from everyone, and I believe that is incredibly vital. Ethics are huge and important to a school, and they must be adopted by everybody, and you must model those as well. If you model the ethics that you want in the building, then it makes it easier to hold those who are in your building accountable to those ethics. And sensitivity and understanding. You got to understand that there are a lot of different viewpoints from a lot of different people on a lot of different issues. Okay, you as an administrator kind of have to toe that middle line. You have to walk almost on glass at times, if you will, to make sure that you don't start and make people feel that you're against them because of views that they have or don't have. And that's part of doing this. And of course, inclusiveness. This kind of ties in with sensitivity and understanding. Everybody needs to feel like they're involved. You need to listen to people's opinions and listen to people's thoughts on issues. Even if you know that you're going to go one direction, you still need to listen to the other direction's ideals and thoughts, because that will help them feel like they have a say, or they tried their best and they had their say. It will make it a lot easier for them to work in that system. So critique. Mindset, personal and professionally, this is an ethic that I find incredibly important. If you have a good mindset, everything kind of changes. And it's not just in your professional life, it's in your personal life as well. If you believe that you can do it, it's going to get done. And that's kind of always how I've operated. That's how I was raised. And it really does kind of go into that. However, if you do have a negative mindset, man, you can really cause harm to not only yourself, but everyone around you. We've all had that student or that teacher or that coworker that just kind of drags everybody down with their negative, pessimistic ideas. And it really does kind of ruin everything, if you will. Disposition, I would say that in a professional sense, I fall into the sense of humor and learner dispositions really easily. I do struggle with confidence. I spent a lot of time in a bad administration environment where I did get degraded a lot for what I thought were good practices in the building, and the principal didn't agree with me. We had a lot of issues with that. I moved buildings to only find out that what I was doing was incredibly valuable, and that teacher that was doing some of that stuff, as well as the administrator who backed them, really kind of viewed and had their views a little bit different than what I had thought. Sadly, the hole in my disposition group means that I have a lot of work to do in other areas as well. With the lack of confidence, I do tend to struggle in a lot of the decisiveness and a lot of the decision making. But that's why I'm here to learn. Practices. With current teaching practices, I try to stay data-driven all the time. I look at my test scores, I look at what's working, I take poll data on what lessons the kids enjoyed, what lessons basically that they turned in. I mean, it's a good barometer of if a lesson worked or not is if the kids got it done and enjoyed it. And especially at the middle school level, kind of making sure that learning is still somewhat fun-based. Changes. I do need to work on my confidence and my risk taking, as I mentioned, as I am a very cautious person by nature. And that kind of goes into the data driven, how I kind of have to have all the angles covered and know exactly what's going to happen. So it's a matter of control thing for me. And I do struggle when I don't have control. And it causes me to not step out of my comfort zone a lot of work. For me, all these things tie into student learning by showing them that I believe that they can be successful. My mindset's right, they can do whatever they want, then their mindset will follow suit. Confidence is contagious. Of course, if you have confidence in what you're doing, I have utmost confidence that I'm a good teacher and that what I'm teaching, I know it. Then that rubs off on the students. Okay. And it really does make a difference if you take that time to invest in your students. I have students in high school now that I started with my first year at middle school that are talking to me about their softball seasons coming up, their soccer seasons coming up, what they're doing, what they've been doing, and how their fall went, and how they struggled with all this online stuff. Being able to be there for these kids is huge. Now, ethics and teaching, of course, disposition really ties into building those strong relationships, which is honestly the key and biggest helper that I can offer in the classroom. Conclusion. Standard correlation. This assignment really helped by establishing a good set of norms and dispositions. These are essential for education leadership. It also touches on our ability to communicate these norms by critiquing them at a higher level of knowledge. Relevant. Very relevant because it helps me analyze my leadership abilities as I start looking forward into this journey to being an administrator. Okay. And me thinking about what this class will entail, which is always nice to kind of have an idea of what's coming down the pipe. And reflection, of course, I'll use this to critique myself as I move forward in terms of what I can do better as an administrator. It's really helped me reflect on the fact that I have a ways to go before I'm ready to be the guy in the building. You know, that guy that everybody looks to, the guy that is the administrator. I'm still ways off from that, and that's where I hope to get to. There, of course, are the two references used. Thank you for your time, and have a great day.